Today we're going to talk about global warming and how it affects life on Earth, and then we'll discuss alternative views and treatment options. Let's start with a brief background on Earth's atmosphere as a whole. The most abundant gases are nitrogen and oxygen, with other gases making up less than 1% of the total atmosphere. Recently, though, the amount of carbon in the atmosphere has been increasing and therefore increasing the overall temperature on Earth. This is known as global warming. Global warming is a byproduct of the greenhouse effect, which summarized is defined as warm air trapped in the Earth's atmosphere that gradually warms the rest of the planet. However, some areas are affected more harshly than others. Areas like the North and South Poles, as well as Antarctica and other cold regions, have experienced the melting of ice caps and habitat loss due to this. This picture is showing the frailness of a polar bear in the Arctic regions and how because of global warming, he is now starving and down to skin and bones. Polar bears rely on the ice to be able to hunt for food. Without the ice, they aren't able to reach the fish further out at sea, or with the thin ice that there is, the polar bears walk out, fall in since they weigh between 400 and 900 pounds, and the thin ice can't support them, and aren't able to get out because the ice keeps breaking each time they touch it. This results in death due to them drowning. Comparing him to a healthy polar bear, you can see just how detrimental the effects are. Global warming also affects seals, penguins, birds, moose, foxes, zebras, walruses, koalas, and many other animals. Because of my heart for animals, I decided to base my research on this with the pressing question of, should we be doing more to slow global warming, or is it out of our hands? And if we should be doing more, what are some small changes to our daily lives that would have an overall large impact? A large contributor to global warming or climate change is the greenhouse effect, which Google defines as the trapping of the sun's warmth in the planet's lower atmosphere due to the greater transparency of the atmosphere to visible radiation from the sun than to infrared radiation emitted from the planet's surface. To simplify this, we'll say the greenhouse effect is when warm air is trapped in the Earth's atmosphere. There are many programs in place to protect the environment, yet even with all our best efforts, global warming rates continue to rise. Even with people cutting down on energy usage, global warming is still a growing problem, with industrial processes likely being the leading culprit, above a 95% chance. Fossil fuels and industrial processes give off excess carbon that is then returned to the atmosphere, contributing to the greenhouse effect. Because of this, Earth temperature is rising at a rate that's twice as fast now as it was 50 years ago. But the Earth's heating is only partially due to industrial processes and human error. Natural cycles also play a small part in global warming as well. For that reason, some believe climate change will always be an issue. Fossil fuels, fertilizers, landfills, and other materials contribute to the Earth's rising temperature by also adding carbon dioxide to the atmosphere. However, trees are able to counter this action by taking in the carbon dioxide and converting it into oxygen that people use to breathe. It's likely that trees and plants alone could very well clean up this carbon dioxide mess almost completely on their own. However, because of deforestation, there's less foliage and the CO2 levels continue to skyrocket. Carbon dioxide levels have risen over 40% since 1958 because as technology advances and we continue to burn fossil fuels, more carbon dioxide is released and affects the rate at which greenhouse gases increase. Some people believe the Earth is too far gone and that this doesn't affect them since by the time Earth is no longer habitable, they'll likely be dead. So they choose to sit back and let global warming run its course. However, this is incorrect and it's important to help out for the future generations. There are many simple things at home people can do, and we have the capability to stop global warming. Some things, even as small as replacing regular light bulbs with compact fluorescent lamp (CFL) light bulbs, would save energy, since CFL bulbs use 60% less energy. Also, having an automatic thermostat will allow a machine to heat and cool your home as needed, so energy isn't being wasted on heat when it's not necessary. Cutting down on energy spending in little ways like this can have a big impact. Global warming is one of the greatest environmental threats we face today, so we need to monitor it. When heated gas is trapped in the atmosphere, it can be very dangerous to the local wildlife and residents living in that area, since global warming is unevenly affecting the planet, being stronger in some regions and more mild in others. A carbon accounting biosolids test can measure the amount of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere, making it a community full of more aware people who are aware of their actions and hopefully entice them to make smarter decisions. King County, Washington, has already conducted a biosolids test for carbon, and other places are starting to follow in their footsteps. Some scientists claim that they believe global warming will soon start to slow dramatically. James Hansen, a Columbia University professor, believes that other greenhouse gases are starting to decline, and with other non-carbon dioxide greenhouse gases diminishing, the atmosphere will be able to cool down a bit. If methane was reduced in the atmosphere as well, along with some other harmful gases, the non-carbon dioxide greenhouse gases may be close to zero in the near future. To reduce global warming, many countries and large companies or businesses are changing the way trains, planes, food, and other items are used and work. Many farms also no longer spray such harmful and intense chemicals on their fruits and vegetables, and vehicles are switching to electric to conserve fossil fuels. Many homes are also switching to eco-friendly CFL light bulbs, recycling more, making composts, and other small practices that have the ability to lead to a large change. Finally, many countries are attempting to overall lower their carbon emission in order to slow climate change. Now we will watch a video narrated by Morgan Freeman about positive change and things that can become of the world.
One day, we will wake up to find that the energy that powers the alarm clock came from the breeze through the trees the night before. And we will go to work that morning riding the rays of the sun. It will light our cities and power our businesses. It will warm our homes and cool our workplaces. It will reduce sources of conflict and fuel our economies. It will connect us all. It won't scar the land or poison the seas. The food we eat will be good for our bodies and good for the planet. And the weather that day won't make us worry for tomorrow. There will be more jobs and less disease. The sea level will stop rising. And species will stop dying. The question is, how do we get to that day from where we are today? All 7.3 billion of us. We start by deciding that beyond our doubts and differences, such a day truly exists. And And that is something each of us can do today. We can make today the day we stop thinking that the changes required to get there are impossible and beyond us, and start realizing that they are not only possible, but what the future requires of us. We must stop turning from the warnings of science and fear and denial, and instead turn toward the solutions and partnerships we need. We can make today the day we stop pointing at each other in blame, and instead chart a new course together. We have never faced a crisis this big, but we have never had a better opportunity to solve it. We have everything we need to wake up to a different kind of world. We need our leaders to be brave and their choices to be bold. They will either remember us as the generation that destroyed its home, or the one that finally came to respect it. We have every reason in the world to act. We can't wait until tomorrow. This is our only home. You can choose today to make a world of difference.
While there is ample evidence that supports the facts and concerns regarding global warming, some still choose to turn away. There is an alternative idea, led by supporter Donald Trump, that claims global warming is an entirely made-up concept that the Chinese use as a manufacturing scam to get ahead of the U.S., since Chinese markets boom when in need of cheap, dirty laborers.
We're in Miami Beach, a place you're familiar with, where the city has just spent millions of dollars to lift the roads and the sidewalks, to raise them because of the rising sea levels. You've called climate change a hoax. I'm wondering if you think, as a builder and someone who knows infrastructure, did Miami Beach waste its money?
Well, I'm not a big believer in man-made climate change. There could be some impact, but I don't believe it's a devastating impact. I am a huge believer in clean water and clean air, crystal clean water and air. I'm a very big believer in that, and we have a lot to do with that, keeping our water clean, keeping our air clean. But no, I would say that it goes up, it goes down. I think it's very much like this over the years. We'll see what happens. I mean, we'll see what happens. Maybe you and I, even you, as young as you are, you won't be around to see. But certainly climate has changed. But they used to call it global warming. They've had many different, they call it extreme weather. They always change the name to encapsulate everything. The problem we have is our businesses are suffering. Our businesses are unable to compete in this country because other countries aren't being forced to do what our businesses are being forced to do. And it makes us non-competitive, which is something that I feel very strongly about. And I feel that it puts us at a great economic disadvantage for jobs and other things.
You mean because of environmental regulations?
Well, they have so many environmental regulations that you go to other countries where they don't have that. It puts us at a tremendous disadvantage.
So those regulations that are in place here, are they necessary?
Well, not all of them, no. Not all regulations. If you look at what's happening in the energy industry, if you look at what's happening to certain industries, they're being made to be non-competitive. I mean, they've taken everything out of them, and they have so many regulations they can't breathe. There are people that handle nothing but regulations.
No, I think I meant more the ones about the rising seas that are being put in place here by the local governments to deal with these problems.
Look, I mean, I think local government, if they feel that way, they should do it. I mean, if the local government feels that way, they should do it. If they're doing the roads and if they want to make them higher, I think that's probably not the worst thing I've ever heard, if you're going to do them anyway. But, you have you have a change in weather patterns, and you've had it for many years. Many years ago, I believe it was in the 1920s, they talked about the phenomena of global cooling. They thought the planet was getting cooler. Now they think the planet is getting warmer. And I have a feeling it's sort of this. But nobody knows for sure. Nobody knows for sure. But I do say this, we have to be careful because our companies are being put at tremendous disadvantage in terms of the world markets.
We just watched a video on Donald Trump speaking from his side of the effects of global warming. While he doesn't believe in man-made global warming, he does see that there is something going on with the climate. He also has professional expertise with building. His claim, though, is ultimately frowned upon by the scientific community, since there is plenty of research and evidence that proves global warming is a real threat. It's very possible and highly supported by evidence that humans are impacting climate change, as proven and supported by many environmental science majors, professors, and writers' research. It's apparent that the greenhouse gases are increasing the Earth's temperature, and greenhouse gases are mostly from man-made processes, while also including natural cycles being responsible for a small fraction as well. When man-made structures add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, it's a safe bet that humans are impacting global warming, and if we are the problem, we can hopefully come together and be the solution.